this is worth exploring, this idea of mentoring and coaching leaders in schools and the way we're talking as one way of addressing this issue of racism in systems.
Yeah.
I think it's, but the trouble is, the trouble is that some of the people who wanted the Confederate flag on top of the Capitol building were educators, so that's a tougher group to work with than someone who says, I know I need to learn and I want to learn and I need you to help me.
Yeah, and I think one of my one of my mentors too, she's written a book, and she has a section about diversity, and she does consulting work as well. And she said, her question is like, is diversity nice or is it necessary?
Right.
And I find that a lot of people think diversity is a nice idea. It's a good idea. It's politically correct, certainly in our culture and climate. But they don't always assess whether or not it's necessary.
Right.
And when it's necessary, you have to ask, well, why do you need this to happen? What's the importance of this happening? What's the implication if it doesn't happen, right? And again, it's very rare that you see success in that in professional workspaces when it's not happening in people's personal lives. And this is the thing about, you could say the privilege of not talking about race. I mean, there's a lot of research about, just generally white people don't, by and large, I think the last, one of the surveys I looked at when I was writing this book was like 70-something% of white people didn't have trusted relationships with people of color, like trusted relationships, which is very interesting because especially when you're talking about a system of education where you have a lot of white women teachers who or in schools, not even Title I schools, but just schools where there's a diverse community of children that they don't understand. And so they're incapable of connecting or getting the best out of that child because they don't know what that child is up against. And instead of writing that child off or sending the child to detention or putting them on some plan, right? Like we don't do that more difficult work of saying, well, how do I need to show up differently in this relationship?
Right.
What do I need to do, in this space to get the better results? Because the question is, did the child fail or did you fail?
Right.
Because they're children. And so I think, it's important that we, again, I think for educators to say, okay, are you committed to lifelong learning? And I think that lifelong learning means that we have to start reading more broadly, being more intentional in our learning, in our professional development, and our leadership. Like, do you have people in your life that are mentors that are people of color? Have you ever been, trained by a person of color? Have you, and that's again in addition to the reading and the other learning that you would do. And I just think it's important work